Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to Sip&Talk.
Welcome, everyone. Let's get into today's topic.
But real quick, a massive welcome to all of our Sip&Talkers out there listening right now. We are so glad you're here.
Oh, absolutely. Always good to have everyone with us.
Yeah, and man, we are in such a good mood today. The coffee is hitting just right, which is great because we need the energy. We are jumping into a seriously complex geopolitical puzzle today.
We really are. It's one of those things that's just been completely dominating the news as of today, May 8th, 2026.
Right. If you've been anywhere near the news today, you've seen the absolute whirlwind happening over in Taiwan, like in their legislature.
Oh, it's a total storm.
It is. We've got this incredibly confusing political rhetoric from the KMT, which is the opposition party, and it's just smashing headfirst into these dramatic, like, incredibly massive defense budget cuts that just happened.
Yeah, it's a fascinating mix of language, law, and just cold, hard numbers.
Exactly. So our mission today, right up front, is to objectively untangle this giant knot of political language.
Mm-hmm.
We want to look at specifically why the KMT's whole anti-independence stance sounds so, like, remarkably similar to Beijing's stance on the surface.
Right, because to an outsider, it sounds identical.
Totally identical. And then we're going to examine the actual, factual, real-world impact of this new defense budget, which is basically being called a neutered or slashed version of what was proposed.
Neutered is definitely the word people are throwing around.
Yeah. And I just want to explicitly state right here at the top, we are completely committed to exploring the facts impartially.
100%. We are not taking any political sides here.
None at all. We just want to encourage independent critical thinking for you, the listener. We're just looking at the machinery of it all.
And the machinery is fascinating. I mean, let's unpack this semantic trap first, because it really is a trap.
It is so confusing. Like, if you are an international observer, you look at the situation, right? You see the KMT, the Kuomintang, the main opposition in Taiwan, and then you see the PRC, the People's Republic of China.
Right.
And they are both using the exact same phrase. They both say they are anti-Taiwan independence.
Which, you know, to the rest of the world just looks like they are totally on the exact same page.
Exactly. I was trying to figure out how to explain this earlier, and I realized it's kind of like, okay, imagine two people are at a restaurant.
Okay, I'm with you.
Person A stands up and says, I claim all the food here.
A bold move.
Right. Very bold.
Yeah.
And then person B says, well, I'm not going to run away to another restaurant.
Okay.
So to anyone sitting at the next table just observing this, they're going to assume person B just belongs to person A. Like, oh, they're together. They're sharing the food.
That is actually a really great analogy. It captures that friction perfectly. Because they share this vocabulary, but if you look at the deep structure of what's happening, they have entirely different end goals.
Different end goals, but the same words.
Exactly. Let's just break down the two definitions of anti-independence because they are fundamentally different.
Okay, lay it on me.
So for the PRC, the definition is strictly territorial. It is absolute. They view Taiwan as part of China.
Right.
Therefore, you know, anti-independence means preventing any form of secession. And the ultimate explicit goal is unification.
So that's person A at the restaurant saying, all this food is mine, end of story. Absolute outcome.
Exactly. Now, the KMT's definition of anti-independence is entirely different. Their baseline is about maintaining the status quo under their current framework, the Republic of China, or ROC constitution.
Okay, the ROC constitution.
Right. So for them, anti-independence means avoiding a legal change of the national title.
Oh, I see.
They do not want to officially change the name to the Republic of Taiwan because doing that disrupts this incredibly fragile legal framework. And, you know, crucially, it risks sparking a war.
Right, which nobody wants.
Yeah.
So they're using the same exact phrase, but they are operating in completely different realities.
Totally. Let me give you another metaphor that might make this structural difference even clearer.
Please, I love metaphors.
Imagine a computer desktop.
Okay.
Both sides have a shared folder sitting right there on the screen, and the folder is named One China.
Okay, One China folder on the desktop. Got it.
To the outside world, it looks like they are collaborating on the exact same project. They're both clicking on the same folder.
Right.
But if you double-click and open the PRC's folder, you're going to find a file called unificationtimetable.pdf.
Oh, wow. Okay, so a very specific forward-looking plan.
Exactly. But if you open the KMT's folder, you find a completely different file. It's called 1947 ROC Constitution.docs.
Huh.
And here is the real kicker. It's a read-only document.
Wait, read-only? Like, they can't edit it?
They cannot edit it. It is this historical anchor tying back to when the government was based in Nanjing before 1949.
Okay, that makes so much sense. So they are pointing at the exact same folder on the desktop, but the files inside are fundamentally functionally different.
Precisely.
That is such a vivid way to visualize it. But, man, I gotta push back here because it still kind of makes no sense to me practically.
How so?
Well, if we look at the data, right, like long-term tracking data from places like the Election Study Center, it shows that over 80% of the population supports maintaining the status quo.
Yes, the vast majority.
So if ROC independence, this idea that they are already functioning as a sovereign entity under their current constitution, if that's the social consensus, why play these semantic games?
It's a fair question.
Like, why can't these politicians just clearly say what the voters actually want to hear instead of, going on camera and stuttering like a broken robot vacuum cleaner just bumping into walls?
The robot vacuum. Honestly, it's a great image because that stuttering is actually a defensive mechanism. Political scientists call it the constitutional curse.
The constitutional curse. That sounds ominous.
It is a fascinating but really brutal structural trap. See, if the KMT explicitly claims RC independence as a permanent separate reality,
yeah,
it severs the historical and legal tie to that one China framework we just talked about.
Oh, I see, which basically pulls the rug out from under their traditional voting base.
Exactly. It completely alienates the older traditional voters who hold on to that historical connection. And at the exact same time, it intensely angers Beijing.
Right, because Beijing views any permanent separation, even if they keep the ROC name, as a form of independence.
Precisely. So they're totally trapped. They have to use strategic ambiguity. They have to stutter.
Wow.
But here's the problem, and this is where the media comes in. This is media compression.
Oh, right, because nuance does not survive the internet.
It really doesn't. We see this in observations from publications like The Economist and The New York Times. They point out this harsh reality of the modern news cycle. Nuanced, three-tier political arguments simply do not survive algorithms.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Like, you can't fit maintaining the status quo under the 1947 ROC constitutional framework to avoid provoking a cross-strait conflict into, like, a TikTok video or a quick tweet.
You really can't. The media compresses this incredibly delicate balancing act into a single-axis binary frame. It just becomes pro-China versus anti-China.
Wow. Just black and white.
Yeah. And because the international lens is so binary, the KMT's attempt at strategic ambiguity doesn't look like a clever diplomatic maneuver anymore. It just looks like a language dysfunction. Like, they don't know what they're saying.
And this rhetorical trap, it directly leads to real-world policy paralysis.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, think about it. If you can't clearly articulate what you are defending, it becomes incredibly easy for someone to slash the budget for it.
Which brings us to today.
Exactly. This is exactly what we saw happen today, May 8th, in the legislature. Let's pivot to the actual numbers, because this isn't just an academic debate about words anymore.
No, the numbers are staggering. They really represent a fundamental reshaping of Taiwan's defense strategy. So, let's lay out the facts for everyone.
Lay them out.
The executive branch proposed a special defense budget for the years 2026 to 2033.
Okay, an 8-year special budget.
Right. And the proposal was for 1.25 trillion new Taiwan dollars, which is roughly 40 billion US dollars.
Okay, 1.25 trillion NTD. That is a massive long-term investment in defense.
It was. But the opposition parties, and this is crucial, it was a coalition effort between the KMT and the TPP, the Taiwan People's Party.
Right, they teamed up.
They leveraged their legislative majority to slash that budget by roughly 470 billion NTD.
Wow.
Yeah, they passed a severely reduced version at 780 billion NTD.
Hold on, let me just do the math on that for everyone listening. You go from 1.25 trillion down to 780 billion.
Yeah.
Guys, they slashed almost 40% of the proposed budget.
Yeah, 40%.
That isn't just like trimming the fat. That is amputating a limb.
It is a massive structural cut. And what is most revealing is what specifically got cut.
Okay, yeah, let's get into the casualties. What got hit?
Well, they weren't targeting administrative bloat or random inefficiencies. They aggressively targeted national defense autonomy projects.
Let's pause there because that sounds important. What exactly was lost in that 40% cut?
First and foremost, the T-Dome.
Taiwan's shield, right?
Exactly. This was a highly anticipated next-generation AI integration system. Gone.
Wow.
They also cut funding for autonomous drone development. And we are talking comprehensive programs here for the air, the land, and underwater drones.
Just wiped out.
Wiped out. Furthermore, they completely gutted the funding for a domestic, non-red supply chain.
Okay, let me clarify that term for our listeners real quick. Non-red refers to a supply chain that is completely free of components from mainland China, right?
That's right.
So it means building defense technology without relying on potentially compromised microchips or batteries or software, which is basically step one for preventing backdoor hacking in a modern military.
Absolutely. Building a secure domestic supply chain from scratch is incredibly expensive, and that funding is now just gone.
That is wild.
And the fallout isn't just military, it is deeply economic. Industry experts are projecting this cut potentially cost 90,000 local defense industry jobs.
90,000 jobs. I mean, just think about the human and economic scale of that for a second. Taiwan is a massive global tech hub.
One of the biggest.
Right. So we aren't just talking about assembly line workers here. These are high-skilled aerospace engineers, AI developers, advanced manufacturers.
Highly specialized talent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you erase 90,000 of those jobs, those highly trained professionals have nowhere to work locally in their field. You are essentially triggering a brain drain in your own defense sector.
That's exactly what it is. It's a profound shift from internal development to external reliance, because if you look at what actually stayed in the budget, it is almost exclusively allocated for U.S. arms purchases.
Oh, I see. So they're essentially stripping away their own research and development to just buy off-the-shelf weapons from America.
Pretty much. They kept the funding for things like the TW-2B and Javelin missiles, the M109A7 Paladins, and the HIMARS systems.
Okay, so heavy artillery and missiles.
Right. And this raises a crucial question about the underlying logic of this new budget. What we are seeing is a strategy where Taiwan is buying all of the advanced parts, the physical U.S. missiles, the mobile artillery, but they just defunded their own brain.
Their brain? What do you mean?
The autonomous C5ISR command system.
Whoa, okay. Alphabet soup alert. C5ISR. You got to explain that to me like I'm 5 years old. What does that actually do?
Okay, fair enough. C5ISR stands for Command, Control, Computers, Communications, Cyber, Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance.
Okay, that is a mouthful.
It really is. But think of it as the digital nervous system of a modern military.
Nervous system, got it.
Right. So if a radar station on the coast spots an incoming threat, the C5ISR system is the software brain that instantly analyzes the data. It uses AI to prioritize the threat and seamlessly communicates with the best available missile battery to take it out in real time.
Yeah.
So you can buy the most expensive advanced physical missiles in the world, but if you cut the budget for the domestic software and integration systems meant to coordinate them...
You have muscles with no coordination.
Exactly. It is a massive strategic flaw.
Buying the muscles but starving the brain. That makes complete sense. And, if we connect this all the way back to the bigger picture, to that political rhetoric we were just talking about.
The semantic trap.
Right. If your political language sounds exactly like Beijing's because of that anti-independence semantic trap, and you simultaneously work with your political coalition to gut your own domestic defense autonomy and your brain trust, how does that look to the public?
It looks terrible.
Right. How does that look to the international community?
It looks incredibly alarming, and it creates a psychological phenomenon known as hostile attribution bias.
Hostile attribution bias. Okay, break that down.
We've actually seen brilliant analysis on this exact dynamic in publications like Foreign Affairs and the Washington Post. Hostile attribution bias happens when trust is so degraded that even ambiguous or maybe defensively intended actions are perceived as hostile.
So people assume the worst intent possible.
Exactly. When you have a political party pushing a narrative that they are building a shield of peace, right, but they intentionally erase the symbols of ROC sovereignty from that shield just to avoid angering Beijing, the voters stop seeing a shield.
Because they don't trust the person holding it.
Right.
It's like if you're holding up a shield, instead of advertising what it actually protects, it just has a big sticker on the front that says, hey, we don't sell poison.
Right. That inspires zero confidence.
Exactly. I want to know what you do sell. What is your positive identity? If you just tell me what you aren't doing, my imagination is going to fill in those blanks with the absolute worst case scenario.
And in this case, voters start seeing a Trojan horse or surrender document. That is the inherent danger of the narrative vacuum. When you have a negative policy like anti-independence, without a robust positive identity that clearly answers the question of who are we protecting, it fundamentally fails in a democratic market.
People need something to believe in, not just something to be against.
Voters need a cohesive narrative. They need the language to match the actions, and they need the legislative actions to match their desire for security.
Which makes sense.
So when the language stutters and the domestic defense autonomy is slashed by 40%, that narrative vacuum just gets completely filled with suspicion.
Which brings us to the ultimate question, really. We've mapped out the semantic traps. We've done the math on the budget cuts. We've looked at the missing digital brain.
Right.
Where does this actually leave us?
It leaves us with a highly provocative question for you, the listener, to mull over long after the Sip and Talk is done.
Oh, I like a good thought experiment.
If the era of strategic ambiguity has officially expired today, here in 2026, what happens to political language next?
That's a huge question.
Are we entering a global era where only two extreme, highly polarized narratives can survive? Is there simply no middle ground left for nuanced diplomacy in modern geopolitics?
Wow. That is a heavy, fascinating thought to leave on. And I think it beautifully lands the plane for today's discussion.
I think so, too.
I just want to reiterate for everyone listening, today was purely an objective look at structural facts, political rhetoric, and legislative budget numbers.
Purely the fact.
Right. Here at Sip and Talk, we are not criticizing or discriminating against any nation, group, or political party. Our core value is, and always will be, championing critical, independent thinking. We just want to figure out how the apartment gets cleaned.
Exactly. Knowledge is most valuable when understood and applied, completely regardless of your personal politics.
Absolutely. Oh, and by the way, a quick funny disclaimer for you guys. If all this talk about $40 billion defense budgets and trillion-dollar figures got you thinking about your own portfolio, remember we are just show hosts, not your financial advisors.
Definitely not.
This isn't investment advice. Please do not buy or sell anything based on my roommate or robot vacuum metaphors.
Yeah, please don't do that. But what you should do is hit that subscribe button for Sip and Talk.
Yes, please do.
And while you're at it, we want to give a quick shout out to our old friend Mickey. Head over to YouTube and check out the Mickey to Life channel. Mickey just dropped some truly amazing new travel vlogs that are the absolute perfect palate cleanser after a heavy geopolitical discussion like this one.
Seriously, go check it out. Mickey to Life on YouTube. Well, Sip and Talkers, we started today looking at a broken robot vacuum cleaner bumping into walls, and I think we've successfully mapped out the whole room.
We covered a lot of ground today.
We did. Keep questioning the language you hear, keep looking at the hard numbers, and we will see you next episode.
See you next episode.